Hey everyone, and welcome back to another dividend portfolio update. My name is Dennis, and today we're going to be looking at my Dividend Dennis portfolio, which I have a goal to reach over $1,000 a month in dividends over the course of the next 15 to 20 years. And I'm going to take you guys on this journey with me as I've been doing every single week here. We're going to be talking about some dividend increases that we had come in this week, as well as some dividend payouts that we also got from a few different companies, and kind of also showing you the total that I've made in 2020 thus far, which has been pretty awesome to say the least. But before we get into that, just to kind of help pay the bills here, if you are anybody that has student loans that potentially has really high interest rates, check out my friends here at Earnest. I'm going to have a link for them in the show notes down below for you guys. Takes about 2 minutes to check out to see what potential rates you can get for your student loans, possibly lower them and save some extra money. And the nice thing is you can use that money to pay down towards extra debts, save it, or even invest more of it, which is pretty awesome. The nice thing is if you guys use the links down below, that does help support out this channel, but it gives you a nice little bonus as well on your end. All right, so let's kind of go ahead and kind of take a brief look at how our portfolio is doing. You can see that our total current value is sitting at $16,611. If you have by chance been following along, this has kind of been around the same area over the last couple of days. You can see just in the last day, the total gains here on the money weighted return is $65. I don't worry about percentages on the money weighted returns personally. You can see here in the last week, it's gone up about 135. And then if we go to the month, we're sitting up at almost $500 in gains, which is pretty awesome considering the fact that earned dividends right there is about $28.06. So about a month ago, I was sitting at $14,300, now almost nicely up to $16,600. Now, I like to show this in case you are somebody who's maybe just getting started with investing, maybe just started learning about dividend income and, building a portfolio for dividends. I'm going to go back to just a year ago, right over here. So a year ago, I was sitting around $911 into my portfolio, and I was putting in at that point still around, I think like $30 to $40 a week into this portfolio, because when I first started, I was doing about $10 a week, getting started, trying to figure out how I wanted to invest, trying to, get better understanding of how everything worked. And as I got more comfortable, you can see here, I started investing a lot more. Obviously with the market being down, I definitely kept going and investing even faster. So right over here, you can see even when there was dips, I was still investing, and here we are today. So if I go to my all tab, you can see this line almost looks fairly flat for the most part, just having those small investments. So I show that just to kind of give you guys a more comfortable understanding that I didn't just have $16,000 that I dumped into this portfolio. This happened over time, and obviously this is not just all my money. My net cash flow on here was about $14,362, which means I gained over $2,400. Now, some of that is profit that I've made from some stocks and I sold them. So if we take a look at my holdings over here, you're going to see that my unrealized gains are $1,800. So if you're curious what the difference between these two numbers are, this is for stocks I have not sold yet, that if I sold today, I would have made that in profit. And then the money weighted return right over here is anything that I might have sold but kept in my portfolio to continue to reinvest with other stocks, as well as dividends that are also calculated in this total as well too. Now, like I mentioned, we're going to be talking about some dividends. First and foremost, we'll look at some of the dividends that we have that came in just over this last week, because we did get a couple of different companies paying out. So here I am, and this is my activities feed. So we're going to kind of go in here. I can switch over the activity to go ahead and just show you guys some of the stocks. But the first thing I wanted to actually talk about was this stock split that I had going on here. So I had a stock split from a company. It's kind of an interesting one. It wasn't like a 2-for-1 that you might hear normally. So this stock split actually was from Pfizer. They kind of spun something off from their company. And so I got 0.74538 shares of this new company, but for whatever reason, I think I just didn't have enough ownership in Pfizer when this happened, that they actually sold off my shares, and this is the name of the company, VTRS. So it forced the sale on me. I didn't choose to, but to be honest with you, I wouldn't have kept this because, one, I didn't really know what this company was totally comprised of, to be 100% honest, and I also don't like having a lot of stocks in my overall portfolio. Because if we go into the holdings really quick before we continue, I currently have 28 holdings. That would have made it 29, and that's honestly a lot. Honestly, I even think that 28 might be a little bit too much right now, and I might be cutting out some stocks from this portfolio over time. And if you're curious about that, make sure you follow down below by hitting that subscribe button, and then while you're down there, hit the like button too, because it does help, of course, support out the channel, so you guys can catch up with all the latest updates and see if I end up actually selling any stocks I have. Now, going back to the activities feed, let's go ahead and just kind of cut this down to just the dividends, and we can see where we're at. So just in case you kind of missed out, so far for November, we have gotten quite a few different dividends. The first one for the month was on the 2nd with AT&T at $13.10. Then we got paid out with Apple at $3.02, Ally at $2.30. Then from Costco at 58 cents. Got some really cool news from Costco, by the way, that I'm going to talk to you guys about here today. Cool thing is, depending on when you're watching, you might also be able to get into the Costco stock as well and get that nice, cool benefit. We also have Realty Income that we got 265 from, but then these are the latest ones that I got since the last update that we did. So these stocks all together here, we can see we got AbbVie on the 16th. Actually, all of these are on the 16th. AbbVie right over here for $3.68. And then for whatever reason, I have two from Hasbro. I don't know why I got two. I honestly, I don't understand the reasoning for it, but it still added up to the exact amount. So I don't know if maybe they missed out on some, but the two over here, one was a nickel and then the other one was $2.04. So a total of $2.09 from Hasbro. And then Procter & Gamble, you can see here, was $1.68. So what I like to do is put all this information into my dividend spreadsheet that I personally have created. So you can see this right over here. This is my dividend income sheet, which, by the way, I do have available for free in the show notes down below for you guys. Since you guys help support me, I do support you guys with this entirely for free. So nothing costs. All you got to do is put in your email and you will have that available for you. So right over here, you can see in my November, I am now sitting at $28.70. So if we kind of just look at some stuff, first and foremost, I actually have one more stock left to pay out for this month, which is Starbucks. So we're going to wait on that to do the full total. But as of right now, if we compare this to November of 2019, that was only 74 cents. So that's a massive increase. I should probably do the percentages, but maybe not today. So right there, you can see just 74 cents in November of 2019 to now 28.70. So that's almost an increase of $28, which is fantastic, to be honest. And then what you can also see too, and what I like to do, is compare it to similar months in each quarter, which would be the second month. So if we look at August, we made $21.81 in 2020 there, which is not bad. So really good increase from one month to the next. And then the month, or the quarter prior to that, the middle month, was $7.52. So you can see right over here, this is 3x going from May to August, and then from August to November obviously was not as big of an increase because that was only about $7, give or take, right over there. So definitely not as big of an increase, but still 3 times as big from May to August, and then $7 bigger from August to November. So that's pretty good. I mean, that's constantly what this is all about: increasing the dividend income that we have coming in, increasing the value of all of our stocks altogether, so that way we can keep growing. Now, the really cool thing is too here, what I'm going to do is, let me go ahead and clear this off really quick. If we actually look at how much we made in the fourth quarter, because that's what we're in right now for this recording, we have all of October and then most of November so far. So right now we are sitting at $40.75 that we've made in this quarter thus far. And then that's bringing up our total to $137.47 for 2020. This is fantastic. Like, this is incredible, because if we look, the fourth quarter of 2019 doesn't even compare. We made $5.77 that year. And then our full total for 2019 was only $8.52. And this is why it's so important to be consistent when it comes to investing, because we can keep growing if we stay invested. Now, the other thing too to look at as well, of course, our third quarter 2020 had 63.21, but that's also including the fact that December has not been added in here. So the fact that we're already at $40 and we haven't even hit the biggest month of the year so far when it comes to dividend payouts, this is going to hopefully show some really good good results for us across the board. Now, if you by any chance follow me previously and saw my last video, I did mention that I didn't know if I was going to beat September's highest month ever, or I should say the highest month ever in dividends, which was September of 2020. We made exactly $30. So you can see here on this whole chart for M1 Finance, that was the biggest month in dividend earnings. And I might be passing that up here with the last dividend payout with Starbucks. So if you guys think I'm going to be able to do it, let me know in the comments down below. If you think I'm going to get over $30 with the Starbucks stock, as well as, well, I guess that's the only stock being paid out, but let me know in the comments. I also really like to hear from you guys how you're doing with your dividend portfolio. So let me know. One other thing you can see here, of course, I have all these different charts. I have the monthly dividend income over here, the quarterlies right over here, the annual. So obviously we talked about that. And then you can see this right over here. This is my favorite part currently. I just added this to the dividend spreadsheet. So this is the average monthly amount that I make so far in 2020, which is $12.50. So you can see here months, year to date, I put 11 because we're in month 11. And then the current year, which is adding up from this spot right over here, brings our total to $12.50. Obviously, that is not near the goal of $1,000 a month. Actually, that's far from it. But just like everything else, it takes time to build, but if you're consistent, the growth will become more and more rapid for us. I tell people all the time, you see online when people are talking about retirement accounts, you'll see graphs. Let me kind of like make a makeshift graph right over here. You'll see graphs like this, and then you'll see them kind of like for retirements, they'll look like this as far as, well, if you keep investing, blah, 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 and then you'll just see the charts kind of like skyrocket. Well, this right over here, this is all compounding right over here. And the reason for it is because the more money you have in there, the faster it's going to compound and the bigger it's going to get. So even though right now we're only averaging about $12.50 every single month for the month of, for the year of 2020, I suspect that obviously by the end of this year, it's going to go up. But in 2021, I think we're going to far outpace it, because if we look at what we made in 2019 total, which was $852, we definitely outpaced that already by far. So, for me, I personally think it's going to go pretty far. And then you can see here total that we've made in dividend income on M1 Finance paid out, not just earned, but paid out, has been $145.99. That's fantastic. That is huge amounts. All of that has been reinvested so far, so I don't pull any of that money out. So I just put that right back into the portfolio, so that way it can keep on investing, keep growing, getting into more stocks, building up more shares, building up more dividend income. And speaking of that, we talked about we're going to look at some of the stocks here. So what I wanted to do was go on to seekingalpha.com. This is where I honestly like to get a lot of information when it comes to my dividend portfolio. The cool thing is I can make my portfolio here. So I go into M1 Finance Portfolio and I can see all of my stocks right over here. The cool thing that I like to do is tap over to the dividends folder or file over here. And then I can see all my stocks based off of ex-dividend date if I'd like, or I could do payout date. So that way I can get an idea of what's to come. And that's why I mentioned earlier, I do know that Starbucks is going to be paying out as the last one, because you could see here their payout is November 27th of 2020, and then after that the next one is not until December 1st, which would obviously fold over into the December months of dividend income. So that's how I kind of gather of like what's to come, so I have expectations. So just for anybody that's curious, that's kind of the way I personally like to do that. But beyond that, I have two really cool things to tell you guys. So first, I want to show you guys a dividend increase from Aflac. So if you guys are not familiar, Aflac, of course, is an insurance company, but they are currently right now trading for $42.86. They've been on a pretty long lull in comparison to most of the market. So they are finally having a little bit of an uptick here towards the latter half of the year, but they still definitely have not recovered from their 52-week high. Their 52-week high was 55.07, so they're not really close, to be honest, whatsoever. I do have them in my portfolio, so if we go back here, and let's go ahead and jump back to the main portfolio. they're in my financials little pie over here. And if I scroll down, you'll see my Aflac is actually 35% of this little slice here. And currently I have 15.91 shares of this company. So pretty good amount of shares. You can see my average share price is 36.80, and the current price point right now is at 42.86. So they've had actually a nice uptick over the last, I think, month or so. Yeah, you can see over the last month they've had a nice growth, and I haven't been putting too much recently, mostly because I've had other opportunities in my portfolio. But here's a really cool thing, and this is one of my favorite things. So if you guys have been following along for a little bit, you know one of my favorite things when it comes to dividends or investing in general are dividend increases. Now, if you don't know what dividend increases are, is when a company already pays out a certain dividend, like they are, then what ends up happening is they typically will announce that they are going to increase it, usually once a year for most companies, and that's called dividend growth. So this company, Aflac, has been paying about 38 years in dividend growth. I say apparently, but it's exactly 38 years. And on average, over the last 5 years, they've had a growth rate of 7.57%. So what that means is if you own one share of the company and then they increase the payout by 7.57%, whatever that percentage is and whatever the dollar amount increases to, you're going to make that extra money in dividends as long as they keep paying out dividends. So you can see right over here that they currently pay out 28 cents a share. Obviously not the most in the world. It's the 2.60% yield for the cost of the share versus how much is paying out, and that's quarterly. So in a full year, that's $1.12 total, which again is not the most in the world, but it's definitely not the worst in the world. And then their payout ratio is well below most other companies. This is at 22%, which means it's a very safe bet that they are going to continue to increase their dividends year over year because they're paying less out in their actual profits to dividend holders. But again, here is the really, really cool part about this whole thing. So if we click on dividend news, this gives us an update that they recently did. So if we actually look over here, this is yesterday. So for me, what was that, the 17th or 18th, one of those days. It's pretty late tonight when I'm recording this. So right over here, you can see that Aflac declares a 33-cent dividend. If you recall, they recently were having a dividend of 28 cents. And that is an increase of almost 18%. I'm going to do it right here. 18%. So let me give you some context to this, because in case you don't understand what this all means, this is pretty massive. Now, granted, obviously, when you look at the dollar amounts, I should say, dollar amounts, 28 cents to 33 cents is not a lot of money, right? That is 5 cents? That's a nickel. You could find a nickel on the floor if you really wanted to, if you looked hard enough. You probably have one like laying next to you on the couch or something too. But this is 18%, which is a large percentage increase paying you out. And if you already are an owner or are going to buy into the company, that is huge, because when you originally purchased the stock, maybe it was a year ago, maybe it was a few years ago, you were getting paid out a certain amount. Like, let's just give you an example. So, they had splits over here. So let me see it after the split. So you can see here, back in April of 2018, they gave out 26 cents a share. So from 26 cents to 33 cents, let's say you bought it a couple of years ago, that's a huge amount of change from 1 year to the next to the next. And what that's going to do for you is going to give you more money in dividend income. And I'm going to show you guys here exactly how much this would equal out for me in dividend increases. So let's bring out the calculator. So we already know this is a 5% difference between the 33 cents and the 28 cents, right? And let's say I don't buy any more shares of this company, because if you wanted to, you can actually buy more shares of this company. Let's see here. When is this? The ex-dividend date is the 16th. So you can buy this until February 15th. Because the ex-dividend date is the 16th. So just keep that in mind. If you bought up until the closing bell of February 15th, you will be included in their new dividend payout. Obviously, I already have ownership in the company, so I'm going to get this new payout for doing nothing. This is effectively an 18% increase in income for doing nothing. How many jobs can you say that you got an 18% raise for doing no work? None. That's pretty awesome. So let's go ahead and show you. So I have 15.91042 shares. I just want to get really into the fractional shares here for a second. So that's how many shares I currently have. So what we're going to do is I'm going to show you what 5 extra cents is going to pay out every single quarter. So it's going to be 79 cents, right? And a lot of people are like, okay, well, Dennis, that's still not a lot, right? 79 cents is not a lot of money. So we're going to add this up by 4 because if it's quarterly, we're going to get that every year, right? So now I effectively, on top of what I'm already going to get paid from Aflac, from the dividends prior that I was already projecting to get, which was the 28 cents, and then the value, hopefully, of the stock going up, I'm also going to get now an extra $3.18 in dividend income that I wasn't already getting prior because of this increase. This money will help me get reinvested into the stock or other stocks in my portfolio faster, which means that is going to help me grow my portfolio that much more. And that's huge. That is massive. I mean, can you just imagine if this was on a bigger scale? Like, let's say I had, I don't know, 500 shares of this company, right? So at a nickel a piece, that's an extra $25 every quarter. Obviously, in a year, that's $100 right over there that you didn't have to do anything for. How nice would it have been to have an extra $100 just coming in because you were already planning on getting paid for it? So in total, let me show you guys here. So let's go back to this. Let's say I don't buy any more shares into Aflac. Oops. So I'm just left with the 15.91 shares. Now, if I just times that, I couldn't find the times for a second, by the 33 cents. So now I'm going to get $5.25 in total for this next quarter. And then obviously we can times that by 4. And that's how much I'm going to get in the whole year, which is $21 from Aflac. $21 is what I'm going to get. And again, because we saw earlier that total that we were adding into it was $3.18. So let's go back here, minus $3.18. So without this dividend increase, I would have originally made only $17.82 in the next year for my dividend income from Aflac. But because of this increase, because I did nothing extra, I am now going to make $21 instead of $17.80. I don't know about you guys, but I like more money in my pocket for doing nothing. And I continue to like to do that because dividend increases are where it's honestly at when it comes to growing my my portfolio, growing my dividend income. Because, you know, for me, let's see here, where are we with Aflac? So for me, I've earned a total of $9.97 with Aflac since I've owned them, keeping in mind that I bought them in small increments over time, so I didn't get the full amounts of payouts until more recently. I could even show you guys here really quick before we go on to the next one here. So if we go to Aflac here, you can see all these. So like my last dividend was on September 1st for $4.11. You can see all these small buys right over here. Let me actually cut this really quick. So you can see like my first dividend from Aflac was for 4 cents. March 2nd was for 7 cents. And then obviously because I was buying a lot more during the downturn in the market, June 1st, I got $1.30 and then $4.11. And now I'm going to get paid even more if I don't end up buying anything else just because I already have this ownership and that 18% increase. Pretty wicked. So let me know for you guys down below if there's any stocks that have really had nice increases over the last couple of days. I'd definitely like to hear from you guys. Now I mentioned Costco as well. So this one is really cool too. So this one didn't actually have a dividend increase, at least not as of yet. But with Costco, first, right now they're trading for $382.23 currently. They're very close to their 52-week high of $389. Before I show you the cool news, let me actually show you how much I have in Costco. Now, Costco, obviously, you saw had a really high price point, and they're a fairly small portion in my overall portfolio. So I only actually just now own 1 full share of Costco, so 1.02 shares of Costco. Now, for some people, that's like, hey, you're barely owning anything, but for me, it took time to be able to build up to it, because in my all-time, you can see I started with 282 in it, and then I just kept investing, just kept putting money in when I could, small dollar amounts, big ones if I can at some points, and then over time, I've built up to 1 full share. And that's what I love about fractional shares and this company that I use, which is M1 Finance, which, by the way, if you want to check them out, I'll have a link down below for them. Obviously, that does help support out the channel, so you guys can do that if you'd like. I do have tutorials on my main channel going all about how to utilize that platform. If you have questions, leave them in the comments, and I'll link you guys to the correct videos. But here's something really cool with Costco. So their dividend yield is so low. It's 0.73%. Like that's obviously very low. It's not a lot, but they have huge increases year over year for dividend increases, which is great. But they also do this thing called special dividends. If you haven't heard about it before, that is when a company decides to pay out a dividend that wasn't planned, essentially. Companies will do this sometimes because maybe they have excess money in their balance sheet and they want to reward the shareholders. So Costco just recently did this. You can see this right over here. So on November 16th, they declared a $10 special dividend. So this is payable for shareholders on the 11th, and the ex-dividend date for this is December 1st. So depending on when you're watching this, if you wanted to get into this, obviously don't buy into a stock just because of the special dividend, but if you were thinking about Costco, as long as you get in, technically the ex-dividend date is December 1st. So actually, technically speaking, November 30th is the last day. So let me rewrite that there. So November 30th would be the last day to get into the stock. When is the 30th? Which is a Monday. So that's on a Monday. So you have a chance to buy into them so that way you can get part of that $10 share. Now, if you do fractional shares, then you can get the fractional portion of that $10. I believe with their current stock price, that $10 dividend share equals out to, I think it's a 2.5% yield on your money, essentially. So if you put in $100, you'd get $250 out of that $10. Was that correct? I think that was it. Let me double check my math here. Well, it wasn't my math. It was somebody else I was reading. So what is it? 382.23 times 2.5%. Yeah. So, it's obviously gone down because maybe the stock price has gone up, but about 2.5%. So yeah, if you put in 100, you get about $2.50 in dividends on the 11th of December. The nice thing is, if you are already a dividend holder, just like myself, right over here, I already have ownership of here. On that day, I'm going to get $10 unexpectedly based off of that special dividend payout, which is so cool. That money is going to go into my portfolio and get reinvested with everything else. Now, if we go into their dividend history, I'm going to actually spread this out here. So you see these like tall little lines here. All of these are special dividends that Costco has done, and you can see a small trend going on here, but obviously it's never a guarantee. So back on May 7th of 2017, they did a $7 special dividend. Then on February 4th of 2015, they did a special $4.80 dividend. And then on, December 5th, 2012, they did a $6.51 special dividend. So before that, it doesn't look like they really did anything else prior, but it seems like every couple of years, they toss in a special dividend for their shareholders. Obviously, it's not guaranteed that they're going to continue, just as much as dividends are not guaranteed either. But the fact that that's $10 that you're going to get for being a shareholder in them. I personally love them. The fact that they increase their dividends on a regular basis. Oops, I clicked on going back to home. On a regular basis every single year. They've been increasing dividends for 10 years. Their 5-year growth rate is 14.52%, which is huge. And then their payout ratio is also super low, just like Aflac, which is 28%. Typical companies pay anywhere from 60 to 70%. And I kind of mentioned this earlier. What this really means right over here is that this will potentially continue, as well as obviously the growth itself will continue. And it's a safer bet that you're going to get paid out. Granted, again, this is pretty low, but the cool thing about Costco as well is if you believe in the company, if you look at their books and you think, hey, this is a pretty solid company, look at their 5-year growth, 140% over the last 5 years. And then the last 10 years, 470%. That's huge right there. That's huge growth over time. And if you believe that they're going to continue going forward, that is going to be pretty massive. Now, their PE ratio is at 39.22, a little higher than I would prefer. Obviously, I think the PE ratio has kind of been going up across the board, but nonetheless, I think this is a pretty solid stock for my portfolio. Doesn't mean it's great for yours, so always keep that in mind, because last thing you want to do is buy into a company just because somebody else is doing it without doing the extra research or knowing how you want to invest for your financial future, because my future is obviously different than yours, and you might have different goals. I mentioned earlier that one of my big goals is to get over $1,000 a month in dividend income. And that's what I'm going to strive for. I'm going to keep moving forward to hit that goal. What was I trying to go back to? Oh, activities. Let's go ahead and clear off this Aflac. I did a small purchase on the 17th for $50 and some change because I had some of that dividends that came in. So I bought more into Microsoft, Next Era Energy. I actually bought more into Costco for about $30. That put me over the one full share. And then the Digital Realty Trust, I put in another $7. And then because of that sell that I had earlier, I now have $12.32 in my portfolio. What I'm going to do is, if you are obviously interested in seeing, I'm going to go ahead and kind of figure out where I want to put this $12.32. Just so I can have it invested in my portfolio and make sure that it's starting to work for me. So some of the things that I like to do is first and foremost go into my holdings, and I like to look at the unrealized gains, but from the lowest point going forward. So what I do this for is to kind of understand like which companies are maybe underperforming right now, but I want to obviously keep in my portfolio. So you saw earlier I put a little into DLR, and that's because they're actually barely positive in the unrealized gains. They've actually gone up pretty high in the portfolio and have come back down. So what I like to do is say, okay, if this company is going to continue performing well long term, is this a great time to buy? Because I'm buying it at almost the original price point that I had, which is great. Or something like AT&T, which right now is technically trading in for less than my average. So my average is $29.96. And I think the current price is, $28.62. So if I bought into AT&T, that lowers my dollar cost average, or sometimes known as DCA. So for me, I could do that as well if I believe AT&T is going to go up. I also have opportunities with like this ETF right over here, Lockheed Martin, which I've been doing, Next Era Energy. I still have a lot of opportunity with them too. So, sometimes I have to decide, okay, where do I want to put it? Other times what I do is go back to the go back to the Seeking Alpha website. And then what I'll do is go to my dividends tab, and then I'll look and see which companies are coming up to the ex-dividend date. So for me, I missed out on being able to buy into Microsoft for today because their ex-dividend date was the 18th. So the next few companies are like Johnson & Johnson on the 23rd, or Next Era Energy on the 25th. So if I wanted to try to get more into those, so that way I get those extra dividends, I can do that if I feel like it's worth it. So like Johnson & Johnson, as an example, let's go to our health pie here. We can see our Johnson & Johnson. Let's see how we've been doing. So the last month has been kind of down right over here. Not by much, of course. Just in the last day, they've gone down about almost $2 total right there, you can see. So I'm saying, okay, well, is this a good buy for me right now? Because the stock is down a little bit, and they'll be paying out a dividend fairly shortly. I can definitely look into the opportunity to buy this. Or the other option was that Next Era Energy. Let's go back into here. Go to our industries/energy, and we can see how they're doing. So the last month, they've actually been down about, in my portfolio, at least $5.50. Down about 1% for the day. So for me, I'm like, hey, you know what? I can buy more into this stock if I wanted to, just because this will give me value. I can obviously also split it, but I think I might end up doing this Next Era Energy here. I'm really liking this company for the long-term growth, as well as the dividends that come with it. So if I do a buy, I can do the $12.32, or if I really wanted to, I can do like half of this. Let's do $6.32, and then I could do $6 if I wanted to, maybe into Costco, so I can continue getting more of that special dividend if I really wanted to. So if I go back here, let's go to retail. Let's see how much Costco's done. So in the last month, they've been pretty down in the last month. Let's see, the last week they've been up quite a bit because of the announcement. So if I go in here, I can buy $6 more into Costco right over here and put in that order. Obviously, I could deposit more money if I really wanted to, but as of right now, you can see my 2 trades coming in. So that's probably what I'm going to do. So that way tomorrow morning at 7:30, it'll buy into those 2, have more shares, get more dividends, as well as get more growth too, because those are not just dividend paying companies. Those are also growth opportunities for the portfolio. Because if I just focused on dividends, I don't think I would be where I'm at with this full total over here at 16,611. For me, I have, I think, a fairly low dividend yield in comparison to a lot of dividend investors. So if I jump around here, you're going to see that my current dividend yield on my portfolio has actually dropped a little bit. It's at 1.985% dividend yield. So a lot of dividend investors try to go for about 4%, give or take. I am okay with 2% dividend yield. Ideally, I like to be at 2.5%. But the reason I'm okay with being at a lower yield is because I do focus on some growth. You can see here I have a whole growth slice. But then also those dividend increases will have a huge impact long term as well. You saw 18% from Aflac, which is huge. And then obviously, with Costco, they have the special dividend for $10, which is also huge too. So all those things combined, added together, plus everything else I'm doing, that goal for $1,000 a month is looking even more feasible for me as I continue to grow and move forward. Now, I want you to keep on learning and growing with investing. So definitely check out this next video here, because I think you're going to continue to learn more every single time you watch these videos as I keep sharing with you guys my investing journey. My name is Dennis, and I will see you guys in this next video.